Hello. Please forgive this and also um, this. Just so much of everything. Oh boy. Hello, hello, hello. It has been a minute, and I am sorry. Um, Life stuff has been going on, and because of that, the depression was really high, and the thank you, Cozy. Um, Depression was really high, which was making doing stream stuff really hard, which was making staying on schedule really hard, which was making, stuff and things. Um, there's the ad break coming in. Uh, but Plus side is I interviewed today and I got the job. So I went and did a drug test and a alcohol test, which I don't do anything at all ever because I am uh, something of a teetotaler and definitely boring. So I um, I will pass. I know that, and background check stuff will also pass because again, I am boring. I haven't done anything too exciting in my life worth writing home about or anything like that. Um, so what is new about me um, in the last, you know, 2 weeks? Um, so the spouse is currently out of town until Sunday. Left last Thursday or Friday or something. I can't remember. Welcome back from the ad break. I can't remember. Um, I can't remember the day. I want to say it was Saturday, last Saturday. So they will be coming back this coming Sunday, which is the 14th. I will be at work all day, but I will see them briefly when they come back because they'll be shuttling in to my work. The shuttle is free because I work there. It's just a matter of putting them on the schedule and comping it and bingo bango. Um, what else was there? I know there was additional stuff. So they've been out of town. And oh, Z. Z, that is so cute. Oh, and the Oliver one too. Shut up. That is so cute. Oh my gosh. Big uppies to your artist. Right. Hi, Azzy. Welcome in. Just doing a recap of the stuff that's been going on. Oh, that's great. I can't wait to see it. I will definitely look more closely after stream is done. Um, so got the job. Spouse is out of town until Sunday. I'm working Sunday, but they'll be coming in on Sunday because they're shuttling in, which is where I work. The new job is as a front desk agent at a hotel, a local hotel. Lovely, darling. Local hotel, I'll be working a late shift. It'll be 4 p.m. to midnight, which is fine because I'm already awake usually that late. It'll be just a matter of making sure that I have everything that I need in terms of like um, necessities. Oh my God, my hair is absolutely garbage. And I'm not wearing my hoodie, which is kind of like becoming my signature look sort of thing. And it's upstairs. Um, what else? Uh, trying to think if there's anything else that's been really worth pointing out. Um, I took a very lovely walk today after I finished with the interview. I took some pictures. I'll post them in the Discord. Speaking of which, the um, and I'm gonna show that briefly. Oh, thingy. So people can see it in the VOD later. Um, it's also on the About page, the About tab on the on the Twitch about tab. I am wow. So I feel very dysregulated. Not just because my sleep has been bad, but because I fell off one of my meds for a little bit. It was one of my pain management pills. So I was having some pretty high pain days in there. My hips have been really bothering me. No. Um, so the hips have been really bothering me. I've been trying to get back on um, taking my medication at the time that I'm supposed to be taking it. Sleep has been kind of all over the place since um, spouse left for stuff. Um, but even before that, I wasn't really doing a good job at going to bed at the same time every time. I should be. We had talked about that, spouse and me. I was supposed to be getting off computer at 10, 9:30, 10, trying to settle down and stuff. But that hasn't been happening. And um, I haven't been eating super well since spouse hasn't been here. That being said, I haven't been eating a lot of calories anyway, so maybe hopefully the lack of volume in the tummy will help get me back where I need to go uh, in terms of that. But I'll be working about 36 hours a week with the new job, and that's practically full time. And um, with the amount, God, I'm just umming all over the place. With the amount that I'm going to be making, we will actually have to ask for help a lot less than we previously did. We're still not exactly where we need to be. That being said, my stepson and his partner are supposed to be moving in at the end of the month, and that will also help. Stepson also has work, is going to be coming directly into a job when they get here, so that's great. Um, I believe stepson's partner is on SSDI, but I'm not sure. I don't have that information really available to me, which is, whatever. Um, but I hope that things will start to be less stressful soon with all of that stuff going on. I may have missed 2 weeks of therapy. I can't remember. Um, I know that my therapist canceled Monday because of a sick kid, but I think we also missed last Monday. I can't, like I said, I can't really remember. Uh, but that's fine. I've mostly been okay. I had a couple sad spouts. Thank you. Um, I had a couple sad spouts, mostly just because I miss my spouse with them being away, but I was also really, really missing my cats. Um, and I had a really long cry about that. Uh, one of my friends, that's something, one of my friends sent me a message to tell me that she was having um, spine surgery. It was the first I'd heard from her in a while, probably close to a year, actually, which is not uncommon for us. We kind of flux in and out with communication. Um, but she had messaged me to tell me she was going into spine surgery, specifically cervical spine, which is at the neck. She'd had a really bad fall. After the fall, walking became difficult, and then she had another fall in the bathroom where she smacked her head really hard against the counter, like the sink in the bathroom. Um, So it took her a little while to get in to see a doctor that would see her because they kept trying to like wave it off. And then she saw a neurologist, I want to say, and the neurologist realized what was going on, gave her the CT scan, and referred her to get the surgery that she needed to get. Um, she let me know this, and she also let me know, the last time she had been under anesthesia. I think she needed resuscitation, um, which is worrisome, obviously. She's fine, but that concerned me. So, in a way, um, I'm feeling myself get emotional about it, without um, saying the quiet part out loud, she was calling to tell me that she loved me and that she thought about me and missed me and was hoping I was doing well. And we caught up, and it was nice. And I spent most of the day of the surgery um, thinking about her and keeping her in the front of my thoughts and reaching out to my deity and my ancestors to ask for help and assistance with that. And about 36 hours later, she touched base with me to let me know that the surgery went okay, but she did let me know also that she had a heart attack while she was under, like I believe it was the next morning. Um, Thankfully, she was already in the hospital, so they just moved her into a different department so that they could handle that. And now she's got additional stents in her heart, and she's going to be taking medication. And I'm so grateful that she is still here. Um, I had lost a friend about 5 or 6 months ago, suddenly to a heart attack. Uh, so hearing that she was okay and that she was getting the care that she needed it relieved me. And um, I told Scotty, my spouse, about what was going on. And she was immediately like, where does she live? And, we'll plan accordingly. And thank you. Um, she was like on board, getting ready for if I needed to go out there uh, to be there, whether it was for a funeral or otherwise. But I'm happy to say that I know that she's currently seeing somebody they've been dating for a little over a year, I want to say, maybe 2 years. I'm not 100% sure I remember the exact time and date, but I do know that um, they are happy and if I needed to know, I'm pretty sure she's probably talked to him and told him to let me know if anything happens so that I know. Because she doesn't have any close relatives currently alive who would reach out to let me know if something happened, and I would want to be there. Um, um, it was hard enough not being there for my other friend, especially because we had talked about um, hanging out before anything happened. It came out of nowhere. It was just sudden. That's how that stuff goes. That's how heart attacks go. And I've had other family members uh, pass in similar ways. So it just kind of hit me really hard. And it doesn't help that I had diagnoses with regards to my heart. So it's just a lot of stuff that's like in the front of my mind right now. Um, so yeah, just keeping her at the front of my mind, knowing that she's gonna be okay. Um, I had also reached out to another friend who I hadn't heard from in a while. I thank you. I had sent her a message asking for sign of life because I got paranoid, and she sent me a message or a couple, like maybe the next day, I want to say, to let me know that yeah, she was okay. And we caught up a little bit via text, and I think I had sent it right after my birthday because it's very unlike her to not razz me every year on my birthday. So I was surprised that she didn't message me. Um, but she's fine. As far as I can tell, she's fine. I think I talked about the whole thing with my cousin last stream, so I'm not going to bring that up again. But I haven't heard from her since the original exchange happened, and that's, I won't say unexpected. Um, I think that is a very, I think it's a very common thing in on my mother's side to kind of um, not, what's the word I'm looking for? Non-confrontational. I think that's the word. My mother uh, was the exception. Um, but the rest of my family members, I would say it was mostly non-confrontational on my mother's side. I don't really know my father's side at all. And to be perfectly honest, I don't feel inclined to know them. I didn't grow up with them. They stopped calling and sending birthday cards probably when I was still like in grade school. And we weren't really encouraged to keep in touch because my male parent left for his reasons, and we didn't have enough money to go regularly visit and stuff. So I just kind of really didn't develop those relationships, and it doesn't help that the ADHD and the object permanent stuff, like, it was not conducive. And it's funny because now they are within a day's drive of me, if I really wanted to see them, but I don't. Especially because I know at least one of my cousins is very Christian, and we were Facebook friends for a little while, and then she started getting really preachy with me, and I tried to tell her gently that that wasn't the kind of stuff I was into, and then she got extra preachy with me, and I asked her to stop, and it wasn't, again, it wasn't conducive to my mental health, so I did end up unfriending her, and I don't really have uh, anybody else. added on my Facebook. Not that I'm using it much at all these days. I use it mostly to check in to see how some of my core people are doing because that's where like 80% of my friends, like their social media, that's what they use. There isn't a lot of people on Discord, and even if there was, like Discord is kind of getting a little shifty these days with the stuff that's going on there, and I'm in this place where I'm not really sure what to do or where to go if things continue to get bad. Because I'm not on Tumblr anymore and I'm not going back. And I'm not currently using Facebook. I am using Blue Sky, but not a lot. It's which reminds me, I should post that I'm live on there. Um, but what was the other thing I was gonna say? I can't remember. Yeah, dysregulated. Like I said, dysregulated is like the key word right now. Um, and I need to get back on that so that I'm not um scatterbrained and stuff. I almost didn't take my Adderall today because it was late. I shouldn't have taken it afternoon, but I really didn't want to not take it, to be perfectly honest. Like I said, I've been dysregulated and I don't want to not take it. I feel like that's part of the problem. I'm back on my other medication again, so hopefully things will go okay there. I am titrating down on the duloxetine because I'm going to be switching to a different medication. Um, we'll see. Part of the problem I'm having right now is it's going through prior authorization stuff, and that's a pain in the ass. Uh, so basically, just trying to keep my head above water. Uh, and I think that's about it in terms of what's going on with me or has been going on with me for the past 2 weeks. I did find out from another streamer something that made me a little disappointed, I suppose, is probably the word for it. She let me know that the way Twitch is set up currently is if a person is not active in chat, like on the half hour or something along those lines, they won't be counted, which means that any sort of ad revenue and that kind of stuff would not track for them. That was what she explained to me. And I mean, I'm not asking for people to be active in chat. It's a reading stream after all, but I was hoping to maybe eventually build my audience to a point where this could be something helpful on the side. No, when I have my computer set up again, I know I keep saying that. It's been over a year at this point. But I know once I have that set up again and I'm able to game more in addition to my reading streams, that will help bring in additional folks. In the meantime, though, it's a bummer. I'm disappointed to say the least because I just don't know if it'll ever get to a point where I have regular people coming in consistently over like single digits at this point. But the only way I can do that is to keep doing it, right? That's how that's supposed to work. Uh, so yeah, I really think that's it. Um, I will, as soon as I'm done reading Robin Hood, I will be switching back over to bedtime story style reading where it's a little bit more softer spoken and the lights will be dimmed. I have lava lamp, a lava lamp and a like star constellation thing that I need to bring down here, which will help with that. Um, I may start playing sounds over my phone until I'm able to play something in OBS while I'm streaming to help with the ambient sounds. We'll see. I do need to make sure that whatever thing I go with, that it's um, free to use. I'm forgetting the word um, for it off the top of my head. Um, but I don't want to get copyright strike for nature sounds because it was something that was specifically generated by a particular person, etc. Like they did the recording, it belongs to them, etc. I don't want to do that. So I'll find something that'll work and hopefully everything will be fine. I might have to fabricate one myself, which I'm not opposed to doing. I've worked in sound design before. Uh, I'm just out of practice. But it was something that I was thinking about briefly at one point when I was um, starting the ASMR thing. I don't really have any fancy tech, and I wanted to see what kind of freeware and plugins and stuff I could get to use that would help with some of the requests that were made. As it is right now, my toolbox is pretty minimal and I need to build on that and go from there. I have some ideas. I do want to keep them still pretty book related, so like getting a nice page turning sound would be good. Um, Writing on paper would be good, and corkboard type stuff and tapping and things like that. Like I've got ideas on how I want to go about it. Um, I did find and bring down my side quest deck finally, so that redeem is now available. I just need to make sure that I'm paying attention to my redeems so that I can, you know, do that stuff. I know Z has been pretty regularly being like, get up and stretch and drink some water. And right now, I didn't even bring my water jug down with me because I'm terrible and I forget stuff. Um, I need to go, like, maybe I'll do that during break time to run upstairs real quick and find where I put it and bring it down with me. And maybe make a pot of something decaffeinated or herbal, something along those lines. Um, so yeah. How's everybody else doing? I hope that you are all doing well. And feel free to fill me in either in chat or in Discord. Um, I'd like to encourage, I want to know what people are up to. I want to know what people are doing. I care about everybody and I want people to know that. I want people to feel comfortable um, communicating with me and talking about stuff. Oh, anyway, what was I trying to do? I can't remember. I don't think I can even do that in the mobile app. Let me really quickly switch over. I need to do the stuff change anyway because we're gonna start reading. I also need to make sure that the book the book is fully charged because I have the e-reader so that I can start with that. I do have a USB cord that I can plug it in with, thankfully. All right. So I can do that when the another ad break. Anyway, trying really hard not to fumble the desk. Oh, that is something I didn't even mention that. Because I didn't have it set up, obviously. Obviously. Um, we brought down a desk. It's not my desk. My desk is still sitting unassembled in the corner. Why aren't you turning on? Are you dead? It might be dead. Come on. Oh boy. But yeah, desk. Desk is set up. I don't have to press my legs against the side of the wall because that's where this was where laptop previously was when I was streaming. So now I'm a little bit more comfy. There we go. The chair is more comfortable because I'm able to put my knees under the desk. Oh dear. I don't have any more USB ports. All right, so I'm going to put up a BRB real quick while I run upstairs, get some water, and um, get my battery pack. Don't go too far. I will be right back. Okay. I had another hoodie. I had another case of put it down instead of put it away with my freaking earbuds again. So they've wandered off. I need to find them because when I was out, the lack of music while I was walking around was an absolute bummer. I'm not used to doing much of anything out and about in the world without having my earbuds. All right. Now, will you please? What the heck? Here we go. I don't know why I did that. That was frustrating. Usually when it has no power, it's black, but this time it was showing the what I left it off at. I need to turn the light off if possible. Bear with me. One of the other things that happened while I was away is that to be more specific, um, got us to do library. There we go. So, yeah, there we go. We did a laundry service. We are really, really behind, or were really, really behind in our laundry. Partly because of the weather and the difficulty it is slash was um, to, good grief, to go outside without the risk of falling or anything like that. Because we have ice and snow, and even though it's April, we're still having some of that. So thankfully, with the melt, it'll be a little easier. But also, it was one of those things where it never, there was a lot of dysfunction, like executive dysfunction stuff with regard to the doing of the laundry and the having a place to put it and so forth. We have since figured some of that out a little bit. And also things will be changing once my stepson and his partner are here. So maybe things will be different after that. I'm hoping, I'm not intending anyway, to do any sort of shared chores that include something like laundry, because I feel like that's one of those things where you really should be doing your own stuff. Um, so they can do their laundry and we can do our laundry. However, that being said, we might be able to go to an actual laundromat rather than use the one that's here in our as part of the row houses where we currently live. Um, Bringing stuff up and down the stairs to go to the laundry is problematic for my spouse's back specifically. So we'll see how things go. There's just a lot of stuff happening right now. Some of it is positive, some of it is kind of neutral, but hopefully things will be improving sooner rather than later. Okay, now that I've spent a whole 45 minutes yapping about um, everything, I'd like to get to reading the book. All right. Let me just do a couple quick things on the um, Twitch side. I really need to learn like set command and shit like that because I don't currently have that kind of stuff set up. But I will be figuring it out in the near future when I'm able to do things a lot more quickly. So just give me a moment while I do all that crap. And we'll start. Gutenberg, Robin Hood, copy link. Go back, come on. Let me pin it, damn you. Like I said, using the freaking phone app is absolutely useless. Okay. Keep forgetting that the keyboard isn't in the. You get the idea. Starting the book. I can type. Go. Switching categories. There we go. Apologies in advance if the Mike picks up the computer fan. I can't really do anything about that. I don't know how sensitive it is. I always worry about that. It's like a constant um, concern for me. Okay. Time to hear my terrible British English accent, hey? Robin Hood and Will Scarlet. Thus they travelled along the sunny road. Three stout fellows such as you could hardly match anywhere else in all merry England. Many stopped to gaze after them as they strode along, so broad were their shoulders and so sturdy their gait. Quote, quoth Robin Hood to Little John, "Why didst thou not go straight to Ancaster yesterday, as I told thee? Thou hadst not gotten thyself into such a coil hadst thou done as I ordered. I feared the rain that threatened," said Little John in a sullen tone, for he was vexed at being so chaffed by Robin with what had happened to him. "The rain!" cried Robin, stopping of a sudden in the middle of the road, and looking at Little John in wonder. "Why, thou great oaf, not a drop of rain has fallen these 3 days, neither has any threatened, nor hath there been a sign of foul weather in the earth or sky or water." "Nevertheless," growled Little John, "the holy Saint Swithin holdeth the waters of heaven in his pewter pot, and he could have poured them out, had he chosen, even from a clear sky. And wouldst thou have had me wet to the skin?" At this Robin Hood burst into a roar of laughter. "Oh, Little John," said he, "what butter wits hast thou in that head of thine? Who can hold anger against such a one as thou art?" So saying, they all stepped out once more, with the right foot foremost, as the saying is. After they had travelled some distance, the day being warm and the road dusty, Robin Hood waxed thirsty. So there being a fountain of water as cold as ice just behind the hedgerow, they crossed the stile and came to where the water bubbled up from beneath a mossy stone. Here, kneeling and making cups of their palms of their hands, they drank their fill, and then, the spot being cool and shady, they stretched their limbs and rested them for a space. In front of them, over beyond the hedge, the dusty road stretched away across the plain. Behind them the meadow lands and bright green fields of tender young corn lay broadly in the sun, and overhead spread the shade of the cool rustling leaves of the beechen tree. Pleasantly to their nostrils came the tender fragrance of the purple violets and wild thyme that grew within the dewy moisture of the edge of the little fountain, and pleasantly came the soft gurgle of the water. All was so pleasant and so full of the gentle joy of the bright Maytime that for a long time no one of these three cared to speak, but each lay on his back, gazing up through the trembling leaves of the tree to the bright sky overhead. At last Robin, whose thoughts were not quite so busy wool gathering as those of the others, and who had been gazing around him now and then, broke the silence. "Heyday!" quoth he, "yon is a gaily feathered bird, I take my vow." The others looked and saw a young man walking slowly down the highway. Gay was he indeed, as Robin had said, and a fine figure he cut, for his doublet was of scarlet silk, and his stockings also. A handsome sword hung by his side, the embossed leather scabbard being picked out with fine threads of gold. His cap was of scarlet velvet, and a broad feather hung down behind and back of one ear. His hair was long and yellow, and curled up upon his shoulders, and in his hand he bore an early rose, which he smelled at daintily now and then. "By my life," quoth Robin Hood, laughing, "saw ye e'er such a pretty mincing fellow? Truly, his clothes have overmuch prettiness for my taste," quoth Arthur Bland, "but nevertheless his shoulders are broad and his loins are narrow, and seest thou, good master, how that his arms hang from his body. They dangle not down like spindles, but hang stiff and bend at the elbow. I take my vow there be no bread and milk limbs in those fine clothes, but stiff joints and tough thews. Methinks thou art right, friend Arthur, said Little John. I do verily think that yon is not no such rose-leaf and whipped cream gallant as he would have one take him to be. Ha! Quoth Robin Hood, the sight of such a fellow doth put a nasty taste into my mouth. Look how he doth hold that fair flower betwixt his thumb and finger, as he would say, Good rose, I like thee not so ill, but I can bear thy odour for a little while. I take it ye are both wrong, and verily believe that were a furious mouse to run across his path, he would cry, Ah! or Alack a day! and fall straightway into a swoon. I wonder who he may be. Some great baron's son, I doubt not, answered Little John, with good and true men's money lying in his purse. Ay, marry, that is true, I make no doubt, quoth Robin. What a pity that such men as he, that have no thought but to go abroad in gay clothes, should have good fellows whose shoes they are not fit to tie, dancing at their bidding. By St. Dunstan, St. Alfred, St. Withold, and all the good men in the Saxon calendar, it doth make me mad to see such gay lordlings from over the sea go stepping on the necks of good Saxons who owned this land before ever their great grandsires chewed rind of brawn. By the bright bow of heaven, I will have their ill-gotten gains from them, even though I hang for it as high as e'er a forest tree in Sherwood. Why, how now, master? Quoth Little John. What heat is this? Thou dost set thy pot a-boiling, and mayhap no bacon to cook. Methinks yon fellow's hair is overlight for Norman locks. He may be a good man and true for aught thou knowest. Nay, said Robin, my head is against a leaden farthing. He is what I say. So lie ye both here, I say, till I show you how I drub this fellow. So saying, Robin Hood stepped forth from the shade of the beech tree, crossed the stile, and stood in the middle of the road, with his hands on his hips, in the stranger's path. Meantime the stranger, who had been walking so slowly that all this talk was held before he came opposite the place where they were, neither quickened his pace nor seemed to see that such a man as Robin Hood was in the world. So Robin stood in the middle of the road, waiting while the other walked slowly forward, smelling his rose, and looking this way and that, and everywhere except at Robin. Hold! cried Robin, when at last the other had come close to him. Hold! Stand where thou art. Wherefore should I hold, dear? Wherefore should I hold, good fellow? said the stranger in a soft and gentle voice. And wherefore should I stand where I am? Nevertheless, as thou dost desire that I should stay, I will abide for a short time, that I may hear what thou mayest have to say to me. Then, quoth Robin, as thou dost so fairly do as I tell thee, and dost give me such soft speech, I will also treat thee with all due courtesy. I would have thee know, fair friend, that I am, as it were, a votary at the shrine of Saint Wilfrid, who, thou mayst know, took willy-nilly all their gold from the heathen, and melted it up into candlesticks. Wherefore, upon such as come hereabouts, I levy a certain toll, which I use for a better purpose. I hope, then make candleskin and make wow, let me try that whole sentence again. Wherefore, upon such as come hereabouts, I levy a certain toll, which I use for a better purpose, I hope, than to make candlesticks withal. Therefore, sweet Chuck, I would have thee deliver to me thy purse, that I may look into it and judge to the best of my poor powers whether thou hast more wealth about thee than our law allows. For, as our good gaffer Swathold saith, he who is fat from overliving must needs lose blood. All this time the youth had been sniffing at the rose that he held betwixt his thumb and finger. Nay, said he with a gentle smile, when Robin Hood had done. "I do love to hear thee talk, thou pretty fellow, and if haply thou art not yet done, finish, I beseech thee. I have yet some little time to stay." "I have said it all," quoth Robin, "and now if thou wilt give me thy purse, I will let thee go thy way without let or hindrance so soon as I shall see what is my hold. I will take none from thee if thou hast but little." "Alas, it doth grieve me much," said the other, "that I cannot do as thou dost wish. I have nothing to give thee. Let me go my way, I prithee. I have done thee no harm." "Nay, thou goest not," quoth Robin, "till thou hast shown me thy purse." "Good friend," said the other gently, "I have business elsewhere. I have given thee much time, and I have heard thee patiently. Prithee, let me depart in peace." "I have spoken to thee, friend," said Robin sternly, "and I now tell thee again that thou goest not one step forward till thou hast done as I bid thee." So saying, he raised his quarterstaff above his head in a threatening way. "Alas!" said the stranger sadly, "it doth grieve me that this thing must be. I fear much that I must slay thee, thou poor fellow." So saying, he drew his sword. "Put by thy weapon," quoth Robin. "I would take no advantage of thee. Thy sword cannot stand an oaken staff such as mine. I could snap it like a barley straw. Yonder is a good oaken thicket by the roadside. Take thee a cudgel hence, and defend thyself fairly, if thou hast a taste for a sound drubbing." First the stranger measured Robin with his eye, and then he measured the oaken staff. "Thou art right, good fellow," said he presently. "Truly my sword is no match for that cudgel of thine. Bid thee a while till I get me a staff." So saying, he threw aside the rose that he had been holding all this time, thrust his sword back into the scabbard, and, with a more hasty step than he had yet used, stepped to the roadside where grew the clump of ground oak Robin had spoken of. Choosing among them, he presently found a sapling to his liking. He did not cut it, but, rolling up his sleeve a little way, he laid hold of it, placed his heel against the ground, and, with one mighty pull, plucked the young tree up by the roots out of the very earth. Then he came back, trimming away the roots and tender stems with his sword as quietly as if he had done naught to speak of. Little John and the tanner had been watching all that passed, but when they saw the stranger drag the sapling up from the earth, and heard the rending and snapping of its roots, the tanner pursed his lips together, drawing his breath between them in a long inward whistle. By the breath of my body," said Little John, as soon as he could gather his wits from their wonder, "sawest thou that, Arthur? Marry, I think our poor master will stand but an ill chance with yon fellow. By Our Lady, he plucked up yon green tree as if it were a barley straw." Whatever Robin thought, he stood his ground, and now he and the stranger in scarlet stood face to face. Well did Robin Hood hold his own that day as a mid-country yeoman. This way and that they fought, and back and forth, Robin's skill against the stranger's strength. The dust of the highway rose up around them like a cloud, so that at times Little John and the tanner could see nothing, but only hear the rattle of the staves against one another. Thrice Robin Hood struck the stranger, once upon the arm and twice upon the ribs, and yet had he warded all the other man's blows, only one of which, had it met its mark, would have laid stout Robin lower in the dust than he had ever gone before. At last the stranger struck Robin's cudgel so fairly in the middle that he could hardly hold his staff in his hand. Again he struck, and Robin bent beneath the blow. A third time he struck, and now not only fairly beat down Robin's guard, but gave him such a rap also that down he tumbled into the dusty road. "Hold!" cried Robin, when he saw the stranger raising his staff once more. "I yield me." "Hold!" cried Little John, bursting from his cover with the tanner at his heels. "Hold! Give over, I say." "Nay," said the stranger quietly, If there be two more of you, and each as stout as this good fellow, I am likely to have my hands full. Nevertheless, come on, and I will strive my best to serve you all. Stop! cried Robin Hood. We will fight no more. I take my vow. This is an ill day for thee and me, Little John. I do verily believe that my wrist and eke my arm are palsied by the jar of the blow that this stranger struck me. Then Little John turned to Robin Hood. Why, how now, good master, said he. Alas, thou art in an ill plight. Marry, thy jerkin is all befouled with the dust of the road. Let me help thee to arise. A plague on thy aid, cried Robin angrily. I can get to my feet without thy help, good fellow. Nay, but let me at least dust thy coat for thee. I fear thy poor bones are mightily sore, quoth Little John soberly, but with a sly twinkle in his eyes. Give over, I say, quoth Robin in a fume. My coat hath been dusted enough already without aid of thine. Then, turning to the stranger, he said, What be thy name, good fellow? My name is Gamwell, answered the other. Ha! cried Robin. Is it even so? I have near kin of that name. Whence camest thou, fair friend? From Maxwell town I come, answered the stranger. There I was born and bred, and thence I come to seek my mother's young brother, whom men call Robin Hood. If so, perchance thou mayest direct me. Ah, Will Gamwell, cried Robin, placing both hands upon the other's shoulders and holding him off at arm's length. Surely it can be none other. I might have known thee by that pretty maiden hair of thine, thou dainty, finicky manner of gait. Dost thou not know me, lad? Look upon me well. Now by thy breath of my body, cried the other, I do believe from my heart that thou art mine own Uncle Robin. Nay, certainly it is so. And each flung his arms around the other, kissing him upon the cheek. Then once more Robin held his kinsman off at arm's length and scanned him keenly from top to toe. Why, how now, quoth he, what change is here? Verily, some 8 or 10 years ago I left thee a stripling lad, with great joints and ill-hung limbs, and lo, here thou art, as tight a fellow as e'er I set my eyes upon. Dost thou not remember, lad, how I showed thee the proper way to nip the goose feathers betwixt thy fingers, and throw out thy bow arm steadily? Thou gavest great promise of being a keen archer. And dost thou not mind how I taught thee to fend and parry with the cudgel? Yea, said young Gamwell, and I did so look up to thee, and thought thee so above all other men, that, I make my vow, had I known who thou wert, I would never have dared to lift my hand against thee this day. I trust I did thee no great harm. No, no, quoth Robin hastily, and looking sideways at Little John, thou didst not harm me. But say no more of that, I prithee. Yet I will say, lad, that I hope I may never feel again such a blow as thou didst give me. By a lady, my arm doth tingle yet from finger-nail to elbow. Truly, I thought that I was palsied for life. I tell thee, cause that thou art the strongest man that ever I laid mine eyes upon. I take my vow, I felt my stomach quake when I beheld thee pluck up yon green tree as thou didst. But tell me, how camest thou to leave Sir Edward and thy mother? Alas, answered young Gamwell, it is an ill story, uncle, that I have to tell thee. My father's steward, who came to us after old Giles Crookleg died, was ever a saucy varlet, and I know not why my father kept him, saving that he did oversee with great judgment. It used to gall me to hear him speak up so boldly to my father, who, thou knowest, was ever a patient man to those about him, and slow to anger and harsh words. Well, one day, and an ill day it was for that saucy fellow, he sought to berate my father. I standing by. I could stand it no longer, good uncle, so stepping forth, I gave him a box of the ears, and, wouldst thou believe it, the fellow straightway died o't. I think they said I broke his neck, something o' the like. So off they packed me to seek thee and escape the law. I was on my way when thou saw'st me, and here I am. Well, by the faith of my heart, quoth Robin Hood, for any one escaping the law, thou wast taking it the most easily that ever I beheld in all my life. Whenever did any one in all the world see one who had slain a man, and was escaping because of it, tripping along the highway like a dainty court damsel, sniffing at a rose the while? Nay, uncle, answered Will Gamwell, over haste never charmed good butter, as the old saying hath it. Moreover, I do verily believe that this overstrength of my body hath taken the nimbleness out of my heels. Why, thou didst but just now rap me thrice, and I thee never a once, save by overbearing thee with my strength. Nay, quoth Robin, let us say no more on that score. I am right glad to see thee, Will, and thou wilt add great honour and credit to my band of merry fellows. But thou must change thy name, for warrants will be out presently against thee. So because of thy gay clothes, thou shalt henceforth and for aye be called Will Scarlet. Will Scarlet, quoth Little John, stepping forward and reaching out his great palm, which the other took. Will Scarlet, the name fitteth thee well. Right glad am I to welcome thee among us. I am called Little John, and this is a new member who has just joined us, a stout tanner named Arthur a Bland. Thou art like to achieve fame, Will, let me tell thee, for there will be many a merry ballad sung about the country, and many a great merry story told in Sherwood of how Robin Hood taught Little John and Arthur a Bland the proper way to use a quarter-staff. Likewise, as it were, how our good master bit off so large a piece of cake that he choked upon it. Nay, good for Little John, quoth Robin gently, for he liked ill to have such a jest told of him. Why should we speak of this little matter? Prithee, let us keep this day's doing among ourselves. With all my heart, quoth Little John, but, good master, I thought that thou didst love a merry story, because thou hast so often made a jest about a certain increase of fatness on my joints of flesh, gathered by my abiding with the sheriff of— Nay, good Little John, said Robin hastily, I do bethink me I have said full enough on that score. It is well, quoth Little John, for in truth I myself have tired of it somewhat. But now I bethink me thou didst also seem minded to make a jest of the rain that threatened last night, so— Nay, then, said Robin Hood testily, I was mistaken. I remember me now, it did seem to threaten rain. Truly I did think so myself, quoth Little John. Therefore, no doubt, thou dost think it was wise of me to abide all night at the Blue Boar Inn, instead of venturing forth in such stormy weather, dost thou not? A plague of thee and thy doings, cried Robin Hood. If thou wilt have it so, thou were right to abide wherever thou didst choose. Once more, it is well, quoth Little John. As for myself, I have been blind this day. I did not see thee tumbled heel over head in the dust. And if any man say that thou wert, I can say, with clear conscience, rattling his lying tongue betwixt his teeth. Come, cried Robin, biting his nether lip, while the others could not forbear laughing. We will go no farther to-day, but will return to Sherwood, and thou shalt go to Ancaster tomorrow. Excuse me. We will go no farther to-day, but will return to Sherwood, and thou shalt go to Ancaster another time, Little John. So said Robin, for now that his bones were sore, he felt as though a long journey would be an ill thing for him. So, turning their backs, they retraced their steps whence they came. Okay. Took me a second to even remember what everybody's voices were. I hope I can remember Will's enough to use it in future, because otherwise it's gonna sound pretty much like the rest of them all do. Oh. Hmm. I really should have taken the shapewear off when I got home. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and pull cards for Azzy and for Cozy, since I have them here. So I do want to encourage people to do this claim. We do have a channel in the Discord for side quests. Oh boy. So should you choose to accept your side quest, I would love for you to post about them in the Discord. All right, one more shuffle. Okay, okay. Pulling from the middle for Azzy. Oh boy. Azzy, forgive me. Your side quest is a boss battle. Identify a difficult task you've been putting off and treat it like a boss battle. Slay the task. Congrats, hero. Quest complete. The quote attached is, "You have to work. Did you think you could snap your fingers and have it as a gift? What is worth having? What is worth having is worth working for," which was by Philip Pullman in The Amber Spyglass. There it is. And I need to practice shuffling my cards. It's been a minute since I've had to do it. Okay. And from the top for Z, your side quest is to listen to an album from start to finish, no pauses and no skips. This was a triumph. I'm making a note here. Huge success. From GLaDOS in the game Portal. There you are. So I would suggest in that case, since there's a difficulty with proving that you did it, that you could just post the album itself and maybe where you were when you were listening to it and why you chose it and what specifically are your favorite tracks. And if you need a suggestion on an album, I would be happy to provide one to you. I would just need to know what kind of music you like listening to, so I don't give you something that will be unpleasant. I don't listen to country music, so if you like country music and that's like your preferred music, that's not going to work for me. Anyway, So that was a couple of cards from the Heroes Planner side quest deck, which I strongly recommend. This particular deck is a mix of all of the other ones, if my understanding is correct. Not 100% sure that they are currently selling this specific deck on the website, but any of the other decks are still good. And I strongly recommend it. This is a very fun project piece. Okay, okay. Let's get back into the book, shall we? The Adventure with Midge the Miller's Son. When the four yeomen had travelled for a long time towards Sherwood again, high noontide being past, they began to wax hungry. Quoth Robin Hood, I would that I had somewhat to eat. Methinks a good loaf of white bread, with a piece of snow-white cheese washed down with a draught of humming ale, were a feast for a king. Since thou speakest of it, said Will Scarlet, methink it would not be amiss myself. There is that within me crieth out, Victuals, good friend, victuals. I know a house near by, said Arthur Bland, and, had I but the money, I would bring ye that ye speak of, to wit, a sweet loaf of bread, a fair cheese, and a skin of brown ale. For that matter, thou knowest I have money by me, good master, quoth Little John. Why, so thou hast, Little John, said Robin. How much money will it take, good Arthur, to buy us meat and drink? I think a broad penny. I think that 6 broad pennies will buy food enow for a dozen men, said the tanner. Then give him 6 pennies, Little John, quoth Robin, for methinks food for 3 men will be about fit my need. Now get thee gone, Arthur, with the money, and bring the food here, for there is a sweet shade in that thicket yonder beside the road, and there we will eat our meal. So Little John gave Arthur the money, and the others stepped to the thicket, there to await the return of the tanner. After a time he came back, bearing with him a great brown loaf of bread, and a fair round cheese, and a goatskin full of stout March beer slung over his shoulders. Then Will Scarlet took his sword and divided the loaf and the cheese into 4 fair portions, and each man helped himself. Then Robin Hood took a deep pull at the beer. Aha, said he, drawing in his breath, never have I tasted sweeter drink than this. After this no man spake more, but each munched away at his bread and cheese lustily, with ever and anon a pull at the beer. At last Will Scarlet looked at a small piece of bread he still held in his hand, and quoth he, Methinks I will give this to the sparrows. So, throwing it from him, he brushed the crumbs from his jerkin. I too, quoth Robin, have had enough, I think. As for Little John and the tanner, they had by this time eaten every crumb of their bread and cheese. Now, quoth Robin, I do feel myself another man, and would fain enjoy something pleasant before going farther upon our journey. I do bethink me, Will, that thou didst use to have a pretty voice, and one that tuned sweetly upon a song. Prithee, give us one ere we journey farther. And my tablet doesn't want to go to the next page. Hmm. Well, this is awkward. Do forgive me. I don't know why it's being so fussy. Go and wait. Come on. Is there a truth to it that I'm just sucking out? What the hell? There it goes. Of course. Put it down for 2 seconds and then it's like, okay, I'll restart. Good grief. There we go. Sorry about that. Aw, I don't know what the hell is going on. I have not had this problem. I don't know why it keeps freezing. Bear with me. I think. There we go. Took me a second to. It sent me back a few pages, so I have to. I'm going through to try to make sure to get back to where we were. How embarrassing. I had forgotten Will's surname. I only remembered that he went by Will Scarlet. I didn't know what the source of the where the source of the name came from. I mean, it makes sense that it would be based on his flamboyant clothing. All right, here we go. Is it just that it hates this one page, I wonder? You know, I bet what it is that there's a graphic on it. Oh, here we go. Truly, I do not mind turning up a tune, answered Will Scarlet, but I would not sing alone. Nay, others will follow. Strike up, lad, quoth Robin. In that case 'tis well, said Will Scarlet. I do call to mind a song that a certain minstrel used to sing in my father's hall upon occasion. I know not, nay, I know no name for it, and so can give you. I know no name for it, and so can give you none. But thus it is. Then, clearing his throat, He sang. I'm not going to sing, even though I could, because I don't know the melody. So I will just read it to you, and you will have to enjoy it from that. Maybe in the future I can find it. In the merry blossom time, when love longings food the breast, when the flower is on the line, when the small fowl builds her nest, sweetly sings the nightingale, and the throstle cock so bold, cuckoo in the dewy dale, and the turtle in the wood, and the turtle in the word. But the robin I love dear, for he singeth through the year. Robin, Robin, merry Robin, so I'd have my tune, true love be, not to fly at the nigh sign of cold adversity. When the spring brings sweet delights, when aloft the lark doth rise, lovers woo o'er mellow nights. Oh, did it do that? It did the thing where it cut off the words because the page. Mm, there we go. I'm starting to think that it's telling me to be done. I don't like that. I don't want to be done. Dang it. I just want to read. Why are you being so dang fussy? I don't want to read off of my phone. This is so frustrating. I'm sorry. I don't know why it's botching so bad. Okay, well, I don't want to have to keep interrupting myself because the damn book doesn't want to work in the Kobo. I think maybe I just need to fully charge it and turn it off, maybe, so that it stops doing this. How frustrating. So we're gonna read out. I'm gonna go ahead and bring us into another reading stream, even though there's a few others that I would rather poke my head in on, just because it makes more sense to go into that. Just want to take a peek. Yeah, we'll do this one. Okay. Thank you for popping in. I'm very sorry that it's gonna be a short one. I will come back next week refreshed and able to do this a lot better. And I do appreciate everybody who popped in, even if you were just lurking or if you weren't active and you didn't say hello, that's fine. I see you. I appreciate you. Thank you for showing up. I hope everybody has a good night and make sure to take your meds, get a good stretch, drink some water, and if you have any furry, scaly, or feathered babies, feel free to give them a big kiss from me. I will see you Monday. Take care. Bye bye.